Broads Media.
Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. If you're new here, we talk about Philadelphia sports, and we react without very much emotions involved. Hit the subscribe button. Thank you all. Hit the thumbs up button. Thank you all. If you want to take this on the road with you, you can. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. It will mean the world. All you got to do is search Sports Talk with Broads. Bada bing, bada boom. Hit the follow button, and you're locked and loaded. Lastly, if you want to be a part of Coffee with Broads twice a week and our Discord channel, all you got to do is check out the information down below in the description. Join the memberships here on YouTube for a price of $4.99 a month. It's been so much fun. I can't thank you all enough for the crazy and wild support. With that, thank you and enjoy the show. Huh? Ha! I'm not happy. You don't have to tell me how the National League East standings work. You don't have to explain to me that the Phillies are ahead of the Braves in the standings. There are a few teams that it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. I never handle a series loss well when it happens to Atlanta. And when it happens to the Mets, it's unacceptable, especially when you win game one and you're set up rather nicely. Don't convince yourself that, whatever. Don't do that. If I told you when they were up one game with Ranger going for game two, if I asked you if they were going to win the series, I think I'd get 1,000% yes in a poll. So if it goes the other way, don't just, whatever it. No. The sky is not falling. I like this team healthy. They were not healthy. Hell, I don't even know if Ranger is healthy. 2 straight outings that are gross. Now, Rob Thompson claims that there are some numbers that they look at when things start to get rough, and none of those numbers are saying anything urgent. So whatever it is internally as a Phillies organization, they aren't hitting any sort of red alert button, which is better than the alternative because, let's be honest, they will definitely be cautious with any player. If there was nothing wrong, but they were afraid something could be wrong, they wouldn't continue to allow him to pitch. So, they aren't alarmed, and I like that. But, dude, he got beat up good. I mean, 5 earned runs in 5 innings pitched and 2 walk batters. This is after his last start against Miami, where he couldn't even get through 5, allowed 10 hits, and struck out 0. Oh, by the way, allowed 6 earned runs. Something's not right. Ranger is too good for it to look this off, especially multiple starts in a row. Could it be fatigue? Maybe. Now he's getting the All-Star nod, and I want to give a big round of applause to all 7, that's right, 7 Phillies that got the nod. Matt Strahm, Jeff Hoffman, Bryce, Trey, Bohm, we knew about them. Zach Wheeler, Ranger, as I alluded to, all good stuff, man. Really exceptional stuff. I think I saw Jason Stark throw out a stat that they were 1 shy of tying the record for the most, which is 8. There were maybe 4 teams, the 0-1 Mariners being one. The Yankees were thrown in there. The 2023 Braves were also one of those teams that had 8. So they were just shy. That's fantastic. So just because I'm angry in the right now for dropping the series, I'm aware that the vision with this team is they got some ridiculous talent and they are going to be fine. I get that. But they got abused by the Braves today. And it wasn't even competitive. Now, maybe Marcato isn't ready for the moment. And yeah, that probably could have been seen in advance. Does it make it any easier, though? No. They're 2-4 against the Braves this season so far. And that doesn't piss you off? You could just move on? I can't. Once I get my sleep, dude, I'll fall asleep. We have the off day Monday, and then absolutely I will be wired to focus on the Dodgers that is sniffing right around the corner here, all right? Before you know it, we'll be back at Citizens Bank Park, and I'll be locked fucking in on the Dodgers. Like this Brave series never happened. But what I have a difficult time doing, and granted, it could be flawed, I could be the outlier. I don't know. But when it comes to specific teams, and the Braves being one of them, I don't ever handle a series loss well. They're dealing with no Acuna. They're dealing with no Spencer Strider. It's a big loss. And about 2 days ago, I put up a Twitter poll, and the question was, do the Braves intimidate you? 1,500 votes, 85% said no, not at all. Okay, well then the team that doesn't intimidate you just bent you over, spanked you around, shut you out 6-0, and took the series from you. By the way, you saw them twice this year. They beat you both times in those series. Now that doesn't mean a damn thing when the playoffs start. You don't have to tell me that. I know. But right now, today, it was a Sunday afternoon. I was excited to flick on the television. I was pumped to watch the game, and I could barely watch it. Because in a second, it's 1-0. In a second, it's 4-0. In a second, it's 5-0. 4 homers! I had to watch it just launch nonstop, throwing up meatballs. I felt bad for Marcato. I did. Couldn't even get out of the second inning. Rob's talking postgame like, yeah, you know, he never pitched in 4 days before with 4 days rest, so I was going to give him a limited pitch count anyway. He threw 57. He threw 57 in 2 innings. Oh. Now, the blessing was we got to experience Phillips. 4 innings, 7 Ks. That's no joke. That's good stuff. Here's some stats on him. This is Matt Gelb of The Athletic. Tyler Phillips is the first Phillies pitcher since Cole Hamels in 2006 with 7 strikeouts in his big league debut. Phillips is a South Jersey native, grew up a Phillies fan, and Cole Hamels was one of his favorites. Pretty cool story. Now, here's some more stats. Tyler Phillips' 7 strikeouts are the most by any Phillies pitcher in relief in his MLB debut. This breaks a 123-year-old record held by Bill Duggleby, who had 6 Ks in his first game, April 18th, 1901. And that's Paul Casella, who is a reporter and producer for MLB. Nothing like Bill Duggleby. I remember him like it was yesterday. All right, here's the NBC Sports Philadelphia crew, postgame, Ashlyn Sullivan, Ben Davis, Ricky Bowe, breaking down the disappointing weekend.
The Phils dropped 2 of 3 over the weekend, and they are now 2-4 against the Atlanta Braves. The good news, still 8 games over the Braves in the NL East, but definitely a disappointing weekend.
Yeah, it definitely was a disappointing weekend. You take in last night and then this game today, the Phillies were 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position. That's not getting you anywhere. They had 12 hits, only 2 extra base hits. One of them was in the 9th inning there, a double, and Alec Boehm hits an opposite field chalk liner for the other one. This was a pretty ugly game. I mean, there was nothing to be excited about in this one, besides the fact Phillips came in and threw the ball well. But, 6-0, it was a drubbing. I mean, this game was over in about the 3rd inning.
Ew, I hate when that happens, especially against the stupid Braves. This is why I can't accept that. Well, they're not healthy, bros. Okay, And what have we been giving them credit for? Winning without their top dogs. They are capable of doing it. They won game 1 in this series. They've put together some nice wins without their elite superstar talent. And if the Braves are just there, which a lot of Phillies fans would say that they're not a real threat, that the Braves aren't as good as advertised or not as good as they once were, they're not the same team with that explosive offense from last season, yada, yada, yada. And they're right to certain levels. To certain levels, yes. They're not that same wow as maybe they were over the last few years. Exactly. They're not the same wow. So do something about it. When Whit Merrifield is your only offense on Sunday afternoon, you suck. Sorry, Whit. But your team's going to win 0 games if Whit Merrifield is the one popping off for you. I actually thought there was a chance for an adrenaline push in this game on Sunday. First inning, Marcato was terrible. Walked some guys, bases loaded. Somehow, the score was 0-0 after that inning. I have no idea how. I don't know how it got done. The most important thing, though, it got done. 0-0. Garrett Stubbs, first and third, up at the dish, goes down. Rough. So when maybe there was something to grab onto energy-wise from the Phillies clubhouse, instead, it went the other way. Here's Lopez. Come on. Do something, offense. Stott, over. Turner, over. Marsh, over. Nick, over. Stubbs, over. While Duvall, 3 hits. I'm not handling it well. I'll get over it. I'll get over it very, very shortly, I promise you. It's not going to kill me forever. But it doesn't piss you off to see Kelnick hit a 3-run blast. It doesn't get you angry seeing those fans celebrate, especially in that ballpark. And Sunday became irrelevant. You heard Ricky Bell was over after the 3rd inning. Yeah, great. There's my fucking afternoon game that I'm ready to sit down and pop on and watch. To round out my 4th of July extended weekend, I get an ass kicking. Yeah, I'm thrilled. The Dodger series is important. And I should be able to shake this off before Tuesday. Now, I was on the radio a little bit earlier this evening. And my producer, Danny Ryan, who does an amazing job, really love working with him, he brought up, in the short term, not any long-term fear, but in the short term, Bryson Stott not looking right, and maybe there is some concern on if he's going to find it this year. Remember, Nick Castellanos at one particular time, it sounded like he threw away a lot of the baggage that he was informed this offseason about with the chase rate, with this, with that. Too much info. No. I need to go back to the basics, back to the fundamentals. Well, I remember reading up on not just the chase rate with this entire team. That was a philosophy change from top to bottom. That seemed as if it was all the hitters, all the everyday guys. They are learning it as a team. But then, after that, there's more individual pieces to work on. And with Bryson Stott, it was about being aggressively selective. Don't worry about working a 9-pitch at-bat. If it's an 0-0 pitch and that's your pitch to drive, let it go. Don't be afraid to swing. Don't be afraid to attack. And I'm almost wondering if he's having a hard time trying to juggle the overall Phillies philosophy of the chase rate and doing well in that department, plus being selectively aggressive. And now there's just a lot. There's probably more that we're not even that aware of, but if there's all these different parts of his mechanics that's being thought about as the pitch is coming in, maybe it's overdoing the stimulation. Maybe he's dealing with way too much, and you just got to go back to giving us the Bryson Stott experience by staying true to you. Forget the too much thing. Too much info. Forget it. Maybe that's not why or maybe that's why, excuse me, we're watching the Bryson Stott struggle bus. It's too much. I then gave him credit, but as I started to talk this out loud, I want to walk it back a little bit. I gave Bryson Stott some credit because whenever he does go through his downward spiral, it's never as negative as, let's say, when Kyle Schwarber can't find a home run, which doesn't happen often, by the way, but sometimes there's a sequence where he strikes out a billion times. And with Nick Castellanos, same thing. It's super bad. Trey Turner, when it's ugly, it's ugly. But whenever Bryson Stott goes through his funk, it doesn't seem to be such a vibe killer the way some of these other names are. And the more we spoke through this, it's, well, yeah, when Nick's up at the dish, you're trying to see a 3-run jack. When Trey's up at the plate, it's right in front of Bryce Harper, and you're looking for a big hit so you can get your big left-handed stick Bryce Harper stepping up. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, you got way different views here on how Kyle Schwarber can take over game. Do you expect Bryson Stott to hit a 3-run homer? Do you expect? No, you expect him to get on base and, maybe create a spark with his legs and use his speed to his advantage and things like that, but not to the level of I need a game wrecker the same way a Nick at-bat feels and how deflating it is when he strikes out on 3 pitches when there's a man on second and third with 1 out. That hurts you so much more than anything Stott has done, but I think it's just because of the nature of the expectations on all of these players, if that makes sense. All right, so I do want to play for you some audio. Switching gears a tad, this is Jim Bowden, and it seems like MLB Radio is talking about the Phillies every second of every day. I swear to God, every single time I go on Twitter, I see a new clip from Jim Bowden, but it lays out specific names in the MLB trade deadline that's about to pop up on us here, and, take a listen.
Yeah, I guess my take is very clear in what Sam Fuld and Dave Dombrowski, the Phillies, are trying to do. They're trying to fix center field, and they've made it the priority. They feel like they have enough starting pitching, and they have enough bullpen. They feel like their lineup is good, but they really want to figure out center field. And so Lewis Robert of the White Sox, Jazz Chisholm of the Miami Marlins, and Cody Bellinger of the Cubs have been their top priority. Now, they know that both Robert and Chisholm are available and that both of those teams will trade them. The Cubs have not decided yet if they're going to buy, sell, or hold. But the Phillies have made it clear to every GM in the game that they've talked to, or president, that that's their goal. That's their target. That's it. And knowing Dave Dombrowski, who, by the way, will someday be a Hall of Famer, after winning a world championship with Boston and taking the Tigers there and winning a world championship with the Marlins and taking the Phillies there. I hadn't won one yet. This might be the year, but he's a Hall of Famer. The one thing I know about him is when he targets something, he'll get it.
Now that fucking fires me up, baby. Now that gets me excited. Now that gets me pumping. Dude. He's going to get him. Now, I agree with that. And it's no surprise. Yeah, Dave's cooking something in the lab. It's go mode. So it's inevitable that a big fish will be here at the deadline. But just hearing Jim Bowden almost put it in stone for you. I don't know. I'm a big react to the now guy, if you couldn't tell. Right now I hear that and I say, let's go. So let's talk through a couple of these. The Cody Bellinger one's interesting. Lefty. I want someone from the right side of the plate. Personal preference. Would I be angry if Cody Bellinger was the move? No. I do see and read that some Phillies fans think, well, why? Why give up one of your prospects if you could have landed him in free agency prior to last year starting? Well, let's hypothetically say that Cody Bellinger was in play, all right? And they didn't go get Cody Bellinger last season. But this year, you start out as hot as you did. You're in position to be one of the favorites coming out of the National League, and you can get Cody Bellinger, and you feel that's the difference maker in making this lineup that much more special. Do you hold back because you made a mistake prior to the season? What are the odds? I'll spin it to you this way. What are the odds that you get a second chance to land somebody after they go elsewhere? Not many times does that guy become available. It's like, hey, I already made that mistake. I'm not going to make that mistake again. That's just a hypothetical, but wouldn't you rather still go after it than try and stick to your, well, we didn't want him before, so I'm not going to that because it's a bad look. Screw the look. If it's good to get the guy on the team, then go get the guy on the team. Now, I'm speculating, but I feel that they like at least Luis Robert more than Cody. I don't know about Jazz Chisholm. He comes with a lot of baggage. He comes with a very unique personality. Now, there's a big difference between playing in Miami and playing with what this team has set with the culture. You know, there's expectations here that are different. But if I remember correctly, there was a lot of nonsense between veterans in the Miami clubhouse, Jazz Chisholm, the lack of respect, and it got pretty ugly. So I don't love that side of it. I do believe that with Kyle Schwarber, Rob Thompson, and some of these guys that are in place here, it's a different expectation set. It's a totally different mold. We're not playing any of those BS games. So I like how everything is in place already to accept the personality like that as long as the play on the field follows. I would say, personally, I like Luis Robert, Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm in that order. Luis Robert does get banged up, but he's a right-hander. He's on the right-handed side of the bat, and you got some options in there with this contract to be a part of this for a little bit of time. But staying healthy is important. I like Cody Bellinger's history, experience, and just the polished pro version of Cody Bellinger. And plus, turned around his career rather smoothly compared to where he once was. I mean, he was almost, in a way, Joey Gallo-like, where it was like, can this guy even stay in the league at this point? I have no idea. Can he even play in the league? Well, kudos to him. Okay, let's go to the Anytime Hotline. Kick things off with Malcolm in Georgia.
Oh, my gosh, Rhodes. From the promise of Friday night to the disappointment of Sunday afternoon, lots of things can be said about these last two games, Saturday night and Sunday night. But I'm choosing just to flush it, move on. We're still 8 games up. And I just want to talk about the Phillies and what I think they need to do going forward, whether you agree with me or not. I'm concerned about Ranger. I think Stott needs to get going. I don't know if it's dealing with the new kid and whatnot, but he just doesn't look the same, and we know he can rake. I think the Phillies need to go out and get a Hap or a Roberts, especially Hap, who's a switch hitter and can hit from both sides, as we saw during that Chicago series. I think they need to send Dahl and Rojas. They need to be gone. I'm sure they got to keep Merrifield because they signed him for a year for $8 million. But I prefer to have Clemens around to be our backup utility guy to give guys spells. But if anything, keep them around. But anyway, that's the state of what I think the Phillies should be doing. Especially just go ahead and get this Hap or Roberts and plug them in the outfield and let the outfield eat.
We do need to get some improvement in the outfield. I laughed at the Rojas thing just because I am aware on how much this organization loves that dude. And the thing is, whenever you want to count him out again, even if you are maybe not a hater, but you don't necessarily love the approach with Rojas from Dave Dombrowski's view, he'll do something then to make it justifiable to keep him in there. He was a menace. He did wreck the game in this series with his speed and speed kills, and then it made the Braves look almost childish trying to throw the ball down to Austin Riley. It hits off his glove. His speed took over. So it's there, and this franchise loves him to death. So I'm not the biggest supporter ever. He does peek his head in there enough to justify it over regular season play. But the problem is we're trying to win a championship now. Now. There are some fans that don't want to give up Crawford because they think Crawford's going to be some special player in the outfield one day. Here's the thing. Now! It's now! Andrew Painter, Aiden Miller. I'm actually starting to believe, and I point those two out because those we can have discussions about if it's worth moving or not. But anybody else, have at it, dude. I don't give a damn about anybody else. But I'm starting to wonder. It wasn't too long ago. I think it was actually Jim Bowden again on one of those MLB hits that brought up, it might have not have been him, so don't quote me. But I remember hearing that Aiden Miller is the next best prospect the Phillies have had since, wait for it, Mike Schmidt. Where do you think they got that info from? Right? Jim Bowden, the same guy that's saying Dave Dombrowski's a Hall of Famer, this guy's one of the greatest to ever do it. Where do you think he's getting his information from? I'm almost wondering if that's the drive up the price. If that's a part of this. Why was that leaked? Bang. Let's drive up that stock higher than it already is driven. I could be wrong. Maybe Dave doesn't pull the trigger on an Aiden Miller trade. But I promise you that that was set publicly for those reasons. Because if not, why would anybody ever mention Mike Schmidt to Aiden Miller? Because from the Phillies standpoint, I mean, that's setting the kid up to fail almost. Kind of. Like, that's what that kid has to become, the best third baseman maybe ever. Like, Mike Schmidt was one of the greatest third basemen ever. Right? So why would the Phillies randomly throw that tag on him if it wasn't for, and I do believe that the media got it from the Phillies. Where else are they getting that from? Is that the Braves? You got Double-A calling up, going, yo, dude. Hey, Jim Bowden. If it was Jim Bowden, I forget, but I'm pretty sure it was. Just tell everybody that this kid's going to be the next Mike Schmidt, please. No. So I don't know. It made my eyebrows go up. Let's go to Sean.
Yeah, despite Tom McCarthy and Ruben Amaro's best efforts to spin it as positively as they can, it's obvious Michael Marcato's not the answer. I mean, you see the difference between making mistakes and falling behind against the Cubs lineup as opposed to a real lineup like the Braves. You know, this game pretty much went the way most thought it was going to coming in. The pitching matchup heavily favored Atlanta, and they took advantage of it. You cannot, no matter who starts, put this lineup the way it's constructed into a 3, 4, or 5 run hole early, because you basically have 2 guys that can hit and 7 other guys that are pretty much useless. You do go home, granted it's against the Dodgers, you get a day off to regroup, and you get Schwarber back. The main thing is you're only 1 game worse in the standings with this loss than you were coming into the series. But starting pitching with what's going on with Suarez and now the 5th starter mess that it's become has to be coming into focus also when it comes to things Dombrowski needs to address at the deadline.
So what I took from that is, I guess it's not so bad to have Taijuan Walker pitching every 5 games, huh? It's not pretty, but Taijuan Walker is a veteran pitcher. And when you don't have that, it gets ugly. So, who would have thought we'd be banging on the table saying, Taijuan, Taijuan, Taijuan? Just saying. Speaking of maybe getting some health back for the Dodgers, earlier today, Bryce Harper ran again this morning with Rob Thompson and Dave Dombrowski observing. Could Harper be active Tuesday along with Kyle Schwarber against the Dodgers? Possibly, said Rob Thompson. Do we want him back before the All-Star break? If it's plenty of time prior to the All-Star break, then I don't have an issue with it. And as I alluded to earlier, they are going to be very smart, I think, with getting him back out there. Unless Bryce is the one pushing the button saying, I want to be in the All-Star game. The best way to do it is for me to get time prior, so I'm going back out there. But I don't think he'd put himself in jeopardy that much just for a random-ass All-Star game. If he could play with the Dodgers whole series and then the A's whole series, then okay. I got no issue with it. I just don't want it to be just for the public perception of, oh, he's good, let him play in the All-Star game. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. I thought I had another point there, but for some reason I completely lost it. Bryce Harper is popping up now on my TikTok feed doing where he would go if he was a 5-star recruit in college. And did he pick Texas? Who did he pick as his number 1 go-to? Oh, Tennessee. Sorry, Texas was number 2. For anybody who really cared about that. But yeah, Bryce Harper back in the social media game on TikTok. Not back in. I don't know if he's been there for a while. I don't know. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought. Now stupidity's going on. Maybe Amadeo can get us back on track here.
Look, I'm going to state the obvious here. No one is happy that you dropped the series to your division rival, your biggest division rival right now in the Braves, losing 2 of 3. I'm not going to say it's the end of the world. I'm not going to overreact. We all knew the dilemma coming into the series. It's been like that for a couple of weeks. Your lineup just isn't up to par right now, and you were able to win 1 game in this series. And yes, it's not 2 of 3. It's also not the end of the world because you went into this series with a 9-game lead above the Braves. You left with an 8-game lead above the Braves. And it's not guaranteed the Braves go on a hot streak. They play a 4-game series in Arizona, a team that they can lose to. And then they play a 3-game series in San Diego, a team that they can lose to before the All-Star break. So it's not guaranteed the Braves go on a hot streak or anything right now. Right now, you need to get bodies back. And these past 2 games, Marcato got absolutely rocked. I was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting them to be dynamic. I wasn't expecting them to be rocked that badly. He just didn't have anything today. And I think it really just all goes back to Ranger not pitching good either yesterday, just not putting this depleted lineup in a position to even try to come back into the game.
That's because I think Rangers dealing with something. I really do. Now, you bring up a good point, though. We see them pretty much, and them being the Atlanta Braves, go on the road for an interesting road trip. We'll see how it plays out. But they did just lose a series right before the Phillies came to Atlanta. They were in Atlanta against the San Francisco Giants and lost 2 out of 3. So they're not world beaters. They're not the best team ever assembled where they're about to run off 50 in a row because of this. Although I guess I can't rule it out, knowing that that would just make this also much more painful, but that's just the Negadelphia hitting me. We'll see what happens. No, I'm not panicking thinking now the Phillies are not going to be able to close out this division with plenty of baseball left, but they are the favorites to do this because, well, they put themselves at such a nice advantage for winning as frequently and often as they were as they got the season rolling. So I still look at the ball's in your court, Phils, and I believe in them. But it sucks. It sucks. It always sucks losing to these frauds. All right, everybody, that's my thoughts. Appreciate it. Talk to y'all on the next one.